This week in Pure Reinvention.
I made all of these decisions when I said, if I threw pride under a rock, what would I do? And that's when I was left with a really positive outcome in simplifying my life so that I'd have more time with my family.
Episode 116, Rochelle Rizzi, Director of Marketing and Communications, National Association of College and University Food Services.
Engage, disrupt, adapt, repeat. You're listening to Pure Reinvention, the podcast for curious people.
I'm here with my co-host, Julie Owens. Julie, thanks for sticking around.
Thank you for having me one more time.
Rochelle was phenomenal.
It was a powerhouse podcast. I listened to it several times. I gleaned from it. Stillness after the storm. Very powerful.
That's a phenomenal concept that I think our listeners are really going to want to understand and need to be listening for.
I think so. And buy the bigger shoes and grow into them.
You know, that's something that is almost a very purposeful discussion, isn't it? You have to want to grow into those shoes first, and then you have to take the chance.
Yes, you do. And lastly, a good leader does not have to be a CEO.
That is going to be another important point. Let's listen.
Have you enjoyed our Pure Reinvention podcast? Are you ready to begin your own Pure Reinvention journey? Join our next Starters Experience May 4 through 5 and May 24 through 25 in Detroit. Learn the 5 fundamentals in an engaging and interactive way. Contact us at purereinvention.com today.
Here with Rochelle Rizzi. Rochelle is an entrepreneur as well as the Director of Marketing and Communications for a national association. Of the 5 steps in the Pure Reinvention process, which step do you most closely associate yourself with?
Disruption.
Disruption, it's a good thing we have you on for this quarter. The superpower that you have.
Love.
And then, Rochelle, we always at times find ourselves in an uncomfortable situation. Can you describe a situation most recently where you found yourself uncomfortable?
Yes. Not too long ago, I had to make some pretty difficult decisions about my business. I actually had 4 businesses, one of which I sold. A very successful sale. Very proud of that. It's in good hands. Feel really great about it. It was a disruption, but a really positive one. My marketing firm of 12 years, which was like a child to me, something that I had built from the ground up, had gotten to a point where, although I had every desire to scale it, even looking at an extension in Chicago and looking at scaling systems and culture and really exciting stuff, it just wasn't, the timing just wasn't right. So I parceled everything off. I tried to merge with another firm. It was about an hour and 10-minute commute, and that was getting to me a little bit. I was to take over a pretty big leadership role, and I was met with a lot of animosity because the leadership team just didn't understand why I was there. I was showing up every day, positive, excited, wanting to get involved, wanting to get my hands in everything. I brought clients along with me. And about 8 weeks into that, I realized this isn't working. They don't want me here. I don't want to be here. The culture's not right. It's just not, the magic wasn't there. And it wasn't ever going to be there. And that's when it was a mutual splitting.
Right.
I went home. It was tough. You know, I had nothing. I had clients, I had contracts I had to have these difficult conversations with. And they were all so wonderful because I was transparent and honest. And I said, I want to keep you as clients. You're not obligated. You're not obligated to stay there. You're not obligated to stay with me. I'll help you in any way that I can. I really care about your success. And half of them said, Rochelle, we still want to work with you. The other half said, we don't want to be there. But Rochelle, you've been through a lot and we need to keep going. So please help us move on. And that was tough to hear, but I really cared. And so I did. I helped them place in another firm.
Well, and that must be exactly why we've kind of learned in learning about each other and now learning today about your superpower and about your comment about disruption as a creator. To add to the entire kind of thought process here, you are also the mother to 4 young men.
Yes, I am.
All under the age of
11 and under.
So in this conversation of disruption and creating opportunity and love is embedded probably one of the biggest responsibilities of all, which is leading 4 young men on a journey that a mom would be proud of.
Right.
So I want to peel apart each of those 3 bullet points that we had identified there, and I want you to talk, Rochelle, explain to me how you see disruption as the creative nucleus of the next creation.
Well, being that I was a science major, when you say nucleus, I get excited. And I think about all the energy that is inside of any being, of any event, just positive and negative. There's a lot of energy. And it's the stillness that comes after the storm. For me, it was kind of a buildup. You didn't have the stillness and then the storm. It was the storm and it erupted. And then I was left with, oh my gosh, what do I have left? And it was the reality of, I did all of these things with my kids in mind. I made all of the decisions to make sure that their future was secure. I made all of these decisions when I said, if I threw pride under a rock, what would I do? And that's when I was left with a really positive outcome in simplifying my life so that I'd have more time with my family.
So you just mentioned that something that I want to understand better. You said if I threw my pride aside, are you suggesting that as leaders, we sometimes let things get in the way of making the right decisions?
I think a lot of people do. I think for me, if I had really listened to my gut, I would have walked away from my business about 6 years ago.
You knew then?
I did. Or I would have said goodbye to some of the people that I worked with a little bit sooner. I would have listened to my gut and the writing on the wall. I will never say you can love somebody too much, but you can get attached and make decisions more for them than what's better for the organization or better for yourself. Mm-hmm. Love for yourself is something that I'm learning still. I don't know that I'll master that one.
Yeah, I think it's a journey.
It is a journey. Making sure that I'm still in the mix and I'm doing things that still at the end of the day feel good to me and that I don't lose myself while taking care of other people.
So this scientific explanation for how disruption unleashes energy, are you suggesting that that becomes the fuel for creativity?
To me, it did. To me, it was the quiet nights at home, the lights out, nobody around, after the kids went to bed, where it was just me and my thoughts. Because I had time to think. I had time to just be and get to know myself again and go back to the roots of why did I start this business in the first place? It's because I loved to create. I loved the build. I loved the climb. And I still do, but at a different pace. And I am enjoying some of the pause right now still as I redefine myself and get back to the roots of who I am. Get back to that girl who was 16 years old and climbed a mountain. And the exhilaration of being at the top and realizing how small I am, how insignificant me climbing a mountain that day was. But to me, it defined strength.
So as a strategic leader, that you certainly would define yourself as, then the mission was the achievement of getting to the top of the mountain and realizing it was not really about you, because as you get to the top of the mountain, you realize you're a very small part of what the world really is.
Right. And there are higher mountains that I could climb and higher mountains that other people already have.
So did you then need to learn as a leader to manufacture energy, to create purposeful disruption or meaningful disruption, to create the energy necessary for these missions?
Yeah, I think a lot of thought goes into the whys. You can do a lot of wonderful things. You can work really hard and you can achieve a lot. You can get a lot of, I've earned a lot of awards with my team, great PR moves. These trophies, these awards mean nothing unless you're using them for something. So those in and of itself were purposeful in that we were trying to use them as a marketing tool to grow the business. Now I'm making decisions as I work in an association that trying to find purpose in my job is not so clearly defined because I am there serving members. I'm excited to do that. I'm innovating in a different way within different constraints. And at the end of the day, I'm really inventing a new way of living for myself and my family.
So the ability to create purpose, whether it's in a job, whether it's as an entrepreneur, whether it's in climbing the mountain, the ability to have the purpose is the creation of that energy. It isn't you as an individual, it's what you have been tasked, you or your team or your company has been tasked to accomplish.
And I think a lot of it is, as a leader, I think the best leaders are those who have the ability to show up and not just show up and be present in a physical form, but connected and, eye contact, that emotional connection, the deeper level of conversation, the energy that they exude when they walk in a room. That's what I try to do every day.
So let's talk about presence. I think that's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
When a individual walks in the room, and Rochelle, you immediately know or don't know this individual is anticipating something, right? This team to get something done, this sense of purpose that they've instilled. How does a leader begin to identify whether they have those characteristics?
Somebody told me once that you either have it or you don't. I do think people can fake it. I think that you can put on the right suit, you can stand tall, you can smile, but people see right through that. You're either genuinely present and genuinely showing up. And there are ways that you can look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm all put together, fake it till you make it. And believe me, I've had those days, especially going through what I've been through. But I do believe that you buy the bigger shoe and you grow into it. You have to throw it out there and you have to walk towards it. And you do either have it or you don't. I really do think that. I think some people are natural leaders and others have to try really hard. It's not that you can't be, but I think it's acceptance of understanding your personal limits and understanding where you are at the table and not being content. I don't think being content is a good thing. I think everybody should disrupt themselves just enough to keep growing.
The unsettled, creating just enough unsettlement in order to move things ahead.
Right.
So if we are encouraging people to, in your words, buy the bigger shoe and grow into it, how does this relate to your role as a mother to 4 young men and you navigating them through this period of tremendous growth and change?
No one day is like the other. One of the things that I've really had to do is accept the pause, to appreciate the pause, and go home every day and listen to what they're saying. Not just hear them, but ask pointed questions. Not how was your day, but tell me more about your day. Did you have library today? Did you have gym class today? What did you do?
What is the reason that you want to have a more deeper engagement and for the deeper questions?
To manage them all differently. I love them all the same, but differently. They are all so different. They are their own people. I have always thought that since they came out. They are their own people. They look at me all differently. They hug me differently. They hug me more frequently or less frequently than each other.
Right.
They are all just so different.
So this ability to question them, to find out on a much deeper level what they're thinking, what they're experiencing is very valuable to you then as you reciprocate back love, affection, and leadership.
Yes. And how do I teach them to be good leaders, even if they're not going to be the born CEO? How can they stand up to what's right and do that kind of leadership and participate in a team and show leadership without stepping on somebody and trying to be the showy one, protecting them from some of the embarrassment that I've gone through as a child and trying to protect them from some of those experiences, but also prepare them because it's going to happen. I can't protect them, but I want them to be comfortable as communicators.
Are you using your natural gift of curiosity to find out more about what's going on in their life so that you can be a better leader for them?
Yes, I'm so interested in psychology and how their little minds tick, why they react the way they do, how they interact with each other is fascinating to me. And it does help me be a better mother when I ask more questions. They're not always the right ones. I mess them all up all the time, but I love to let them know I'm here and that I'm really engaging with them.
How is your experience as a mother to these very dynamic young men? How has that made you a better leader?
I think I can answer that question better in about 10 years, because right now I just feel like I am in the thick of it. I'm learning on the fly. My youngest is 3. I have a 5-year-old, a 9-year-old, and an 11-year-old. So we're in preteen and preschool and everything in between. I don't know how well I'm doing. I feel good at the end of the day, and they seem happy and they're full of love. And I think I'm passing on my superpower to them, that you love and you forgive yourself and you start over.
The lessons from 4 young men who obviously love their mother as much as their mother loves them. Rochelle, thank you so much for this awesome interview.
Thank you.
Julie, I was originally drawn to Rochelle because I could understand there was some depth to her thought. And as you've been able to help me with some of the bullet points here, I was right. You had said stillness after the storm, and I am very intrigued by that.
That really pulled me in, because when we're going through adversity and in the midst of possibly a disruption that we did not have control of, we need to take a moment to reset and to listen to our inner selves. And that's a hard thing to do, especially for Rochelle with 4 boys. But she recognizes that she needs that time to rejuvenate herself. And I also got out of that, it is the rain and not the thunder that makes the flowers grow. So she had thunder with that disruption, uncontrolled, but it's the stillness, the rain, that's going to make her reinvention take place again.
So for a lot of us, we listen to the thunder because it has such a magnitude to it that it startles us.
Absolutely, and it throws us off.
But that isn't really what we should be paying attention to, is it?
It's the moments after. What lessons can we learn from that thunder? It's something in there. It's a message. But if we don't take the time to reset and listen to our inner selves, we're going to miss the message.
And the message is what helps us prepare for what's next.
That's right, that next step.
So if we're going to get ready for the next step, Rochelle's telling us we got to buy the bigger shoes. And I'm going to tell you, that's a little confusing to me. What does that mean, Julie?
You have to buy those bigger shoes and fill it, because you can't wear shoes that are too big. And maybe those bigger shoes are the only shoes that were available to you at that time and you needed them. You have to take the steps to fill those shoes. You have to be active and be connected in your growth. And that's what I get out of that, buying those bigger shoes and filling them. You have to choose to do it. You have to be active and connected in doing it.
Give yourself the space to grow.
Absolutely.
Good leaders do not have to be the CEO. I think there's a really, really powerful message there.
It's a good message in there. When I heard it, I just lit up right away, because a leader can be a leader in their own right. They don't have to be some big wig. They can be a quiet leader and a leader who leads by doing what's right. And that is very, very important, because people see leaders as knowing it all. But you can be a good leader by buying the bigger shoes and growing into it, listening to the stillness after the storm.
Being a leader isn't by position.
No.
It's actually by behavior and how much of an inspiration and a mentor you are to others.
That's the first fundamental building block in being a good leader, and being a good leader in listening and not just hearing something.
So what does Rochelle say is, how is she applying that in her world?
Well, in her world with 4 boys, she acknowledges that they all communicate differently, and that she has to take that into account in fashioning the relationship she's going to have with each of them individually. And in being a leader, we also have to be cognizant of listening to our employees, to our customers, and fashioning something and our communication styles to fit them in order to continue growth.
So Rochelle has reminded us we need to listen to understand and not listen to respond.
That is absolutely correct.
If you're ready for a change, make it a change that lasts. Make it pure reinvention.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Pure Reinvention. Keep the conversation going and get alerts when new podcasts are up by following us on Twitter @Pure Reinvention, or sign up for our mailing list at purereinvention.com.